send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of COG, and today we are going to be talking about Doom Eternal. I'm Red.
And I'm Orange.
And this was a really fun game. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
I liked this game. I think it lived up to the last game pretty well, and that was all the hype I had for it, was would this be 2016 or better? I think it was better.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit of hype. I was kind of cautious though, because the art style is very different in this game, and I didn't know what to think. I loved that grounded feeling of 2016, which is definitely not what Doom Eternal is, but I grew to love it.
Yeah, it starts out pretty stark, I think, in comparison to 2016, and it doesn't take long for you to realize this is a new iteration, and they're doing a lot of new things. They ease you into this new style pretty well.
Orange, what is your history with the franchise of Doom?
Only 2016. I didn't have a computer for computer games when I was younger, and most of the other Doom games I think were just kind of skippable for me. I was hooked on other games at the time, so 2016 was the first one that I saw myself in a position to buy and play.
Did you enjoy 2016?
Yeah, I loved it. Just about every aspect of it.
I have been a Doom fan since I was really young. I think the original Doom might be the first game I ever played. I've played, I think, every single one of them at least a little bit. I haven't ever beaten any of them except for 2016, which I really loved. 2016 was this huge change in shooters, because before that we only had like cover-based shooters.
From the first Doom to 2016, the game had seen many iterations, right? Like different art styles, different music. I think there was even a Doom that was like kind of dark and a horror game.
Yeah, Doom 3.
Yeah.
Doom 3 is a totally different beast. It's just super dark, kind of slow, surprisingly, which is weird for a Doom game, and it's very different. We'll have to talk about that one day. I was kind of wanting something faster paced from Doom, because that's what I loved in the original games, and 2016 gave that to me. 2016 got rid of that cover-based gameplay that we were so used to seeing in like
Call of Duties and so on and so forth.
Yeah, which I'm not a big fan of. I know you are though.
Yeah, tons of Battlefields and all those.
With that said, this is a little bit different than other first-person shooters because you don't have cover.
What separates Doom from other shooters is, like you said, no cover-based, fast-paced environments, weapon pickups, plenty of different enemy types. You don't see that anymore either. That's almost a Doom-specific thing, or games like Serious Sam and games such as that. Doom sets itself apart pretty easily.
Yeah, it doesn't have any rejuvenating.
Yeah, no, that's something you gotta get.
What do you call that?
Health regen?
Yeah, it doesn't have any health regeneration, so you have to find the health. Something that I thought was awesome about Doom 2016 that carries on in Eternal is that instead of having to just find health and for it being like really old feeling, they have these glory kills, which are fucking awesome, and they also give you health just whenever you need it, really, and I think that's a great mechanic.
I think that adds on to what other games are doing. Other first-person games are doing this, where it's like assassination kills in Halo or Battlefield games. It's not just a cinematic and a cool like, aha, in your face, I got you. This is like is a badass thing that you do, and it actually rewards you to take the time and do your glory kills.
There's also other things, like other games, you have to reload your gun, but Doom Eternal does it in a completely different way.
Yeah, in order to get more, you gotta work for it and get the chainsaw kills.
There's a lot of like fast-paced movement in these games. Surprisingly, a lot of platforming. What did you feel about the platforming?
I think the platforming was unexpected, but I would say welcome to the Doom series. In the fast-paced environment, platforming kind of requires you to slow down and think about it, but in Doom, it happens in such a way that you can do it pretty quickly. It's quite obvious where you're jumping to next or what you're grabbing onto next. It was a good change, especially given just the amount of movement control you have in a game like Doom.
Doom Eternal is pretty cool because while we did have platforming in 2016, it is nothing like Eternal. In Eternal, it's like flat out Mario Brothers style platforming.
Yeah, some of it even looks like Mario's, just swinging flame ropes and moving platforms.
Looks like Bowser's fucking castle or something.
Yeah.
I love the platforming in this. I actually really like that you can climb up things as well. That is something that actually really built onto the platforming. Specifically in this one, something that I thought was a problem in 2016 was that it felt really repetitive in some points because the action never let up. Where Eternal actually does every now and then, and I think the game is better for it.
I think so too.
With that said, you do get like a weapon wheel of guns.
The same amount from 2016, like 8 guns.
Comparatively from other first-person shooters, it's not that much, but the way the guns are handled in this is very unique.
Yeah, it's not like your M16 to AK-47. Every gun is so different.
And they all like serve an awesome purpose. They really add to the gunplay. Whereas opposed with other first-person shooters, I feel like there's a lot of guns that just should be thrown away. Where in Doom Eternal, they're all very important.
Yeah, they matter.
There's nothing like the pistol in Eternal, where in 2016, you like never use the pistol. In Eternal, you will be using the shotgun, which is your first gun, from the beginning of the game to the very end of the game.
And even in 2016, you could probably complete that game with the pistol. And I think that might have been a flaw in 2016. But in Eternal, you actually need your whole arsenal.
If you don't switch your guns often, you are going to die very quickly. There are also, surprisingly, some RPG aspects in this game. 2016 also had some, I think.
Yeah, they had some in terms of collecting a currency to spend on armor points or upgrading your guns in such ways. But this adds, I think, like 2 more extra tabs inside those tabs and tabs that you'd find from the previous game. There's so much more to go down. There's so many different roads you can take.
You can upgrade your Praetor suit. You can get upgrades for your health and ammo. You can also get upgrades for even your guns and their mods. Did you have any fun with those?
I had a bit of fun with those. I think the ones I enjoyed the most would be like my RPG lock-ons and stuff. I love just sending fire to people.
Oh, yeah.
That shit's good.
The lock-on that rocket launcher is fucking sick, and it does like a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, it's almost an essential. I feel that the rocket launcher was kind of poo without it.
Because everything is moving so fast that you can't shoot anything if you don't have that lock on.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, maybe you can blame me for that for not playing the original Doom, but I'm just not up to par on that stuff.
We'll also admit right here, right now, we did play the PlayStation 4 version of the game because my computer is shit.
This is a beautiful game. You will need modern hardware to play it.
I will also say that because we played it on the PlayStation 4, we had to get used to controllers. That is not something I'm used to at all.
No, kudos to you if you just beat that game on its hardest difficulty on controllers. You're a god.
Yeah, you must be able to like twist your thumbs together.
Yeah,
or, like,
they've got like 6 extra thumbs and 12 joysticks.
Your wife must really like you. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
The basic plot and the lore behind this, what did you think about any of that?
Filler.
You just made everybody click off the video.
No. I mean, let's compare this to other games. I think I'm a little more intrigued by the protagonists in other games, so I want to know why he's fighting and what he stands for. I don't even think this is a bad thing to say it's filler. The Doom Marine's just a badass, and I don't need to know why he's trying to destroy Hell. I think I get the idea. Hell is bad.
Yeah, they say it in the Bible, so it must be true.
I'm going to stick with that one.
I don't want to say that it's filler. I definitely want to say that, like, I think it adds to the game, but it is not the primary focus of Doom Eternal.
Yeah, you don't need to know what's happening too much. There's plot points that are worth it, but those are explained in the game. Like, as you're playing, it'll make sense in that way.
I will say this, and this is sort of a critique before we move on to spoilers. I think that the game has a very simple story, but the way they present it to you makes it seem more complicated.
Especially when they're throwing Q-tips your way, or cues, like, hey, you unlock this, and you go read about the demon, and it's like 6 paragraphs just about an imp.
Yeah.
It's a bit much, but if that's your thing, if you're a writer, this is actually pretty good writing material. You have a lot of stuff here that you could base some ideas off of.
I would say that with that, though, like, I did enjoy kind of reading through some of those things. I liked seeing the big fucking monsters in the background. I liked learning a little bit more about the Doom galaxy, but I'm not gonna go read like a fucking tome of Doom.
If that's your thing, you could probably take the lore here and condense it into a decently sized book. That'd be entertaining alone.
Is there any cons to Doom Eternal?
You know, I actually do have a few, but these aren't hard knocks. I'm not that mad about them. I liked the music in 2016 a bit more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know, I don't think this one fell short, and I know there's a bit of controversy. Maybe another time we can talk about that, but it just didn't hit me the same way. I think 2016 felt like metal. This one kind of felt like a mix. I wasn't hearing bangers, you know? I wasn't hearing that shit that was making me wild. It was just kind of good, like, anxiety music.
I'm actually going to side with you on this one. I like the music, but if I'm sitting there for 5 hours, I can't handle it.
That same riff gets a little old.
At one point, I just turned the music down a little bit, and it made the game a lot more fun because I just was able to explore and not think about the music, and it wasn't just constantly buzzing in my fucking ear. I think that my only other criticism is something that I can't really bring up until we hit spoilers, but I can just sum it up by saying that there were some design decisions that I didn't quite understand and that I thought got away from what Doom is supposed to be. But other than that, I really loved this game. I will say the first time I played it, my opinions were a little bit lukewarm because they had made so many changes, but because now I have a lot more familiarity with it, I love this game. I highly recommend it to anybody.
If you haven't played Doom 2016, this is a good one. You can still get that good Doom experience. If you didn't play 2016 that year it came out, this is on par.
I would say, in my opinion, it's way better. Just because while Doom 2016 changed the landscape to be more of this quote-unquote boomer shooter kind of shooting age, right? I think Doom Eternal has done something with shooters that we have not seen before, and I can't get too into it yet without getting into spoilers.
Now's the time. Let's get into them.
All right, time for some spoilers. So the first level of Doom Eternal is Hell on Earth. Could you describe this one for me?
Well, it is hell on Earth. Hell has invaded Earth now. And like most first levels, you're getting into your basic essentials. What you need to know, your movement, what you can do, and then of course, your weapon set. And so we're going to start off with the combat shotgun, which is what we started off with in 2016 besides your pistol. And it's still the same gun.
You do get a couple weapon mods. There's like a grenade thrower, which is probably one of my favorite weapon mods in the entire game, actually.
Yeah, it's so useful.
You can like take out huge enemies with this. You can also aim at very particular weak points, which becomes very important in Doom Eternal. Speaking of which, there are 2 new enemies.
The first one that you're going to notice with your weak point, besides being like the head, which was pretty normal from the last game, the Arachnotron, and his weak point is on the top of his head, his little turret. Once you take care of that, he's a weak enemy at that point.
These weak points are very different because in most shooters, yeah, okay, you shoot the head and then they die, right?
Yeah.
In this one, it's kind of tactical because when you shoot his cannon, it pretty much stops him from being able to attack you, and he has to run after you. And it makes him into kind of a weaker mob, like you said. And I really, really love this about Doom Eternal and the way that they do this.
This is a great addition to the game. It gives you a reason to now use that weapon wheel, which you've had the whole time, but you've only locked onto one gun, like in the last game. I found myself using the same 2 guns most of the time because they were just so efficient at hitting things in the head. That's not the case anymore. Some guns are better at that, but the weak point isn't always on the head. It's at the back, or it's on the top, or it's on the bottom. It's everywhere.
With these sticky bombs, I loved doing that to the Arachnotron, was shooting that top turret and then just unloading sticky bombs onto him. It almost turns the shotgun into a completely different gun, and I would say that about all of these mods.
Even for your assault rifle, just like in 2016, you're getting rocket launchers and stuff. It changes the game. I called it the assault rifle, but it's a heavy cannon.
What was your favorite mod for that one?
For the heavy cannon, it was probably the precision bolt. Just having the option for a sniper rifle now in Doom was pretty sweet, and I found it really useful for the Arachnotrons. I really liked just hitting it in one shot.
When I first played this, I definitely liked the heavy cannon with that sniper. It was so much fun just being able to shoot at that. You do have to get a little bit used to the game to be able to use the sticky bombs, but the reason why I liked that one so much is that there is another enemy in this first level, which is the Cacodemon. I think everybody knows what a Cacodemon looks like, but in Doom Eternal it goes down a little bit differently.
It has a new weak point. It's actually not even on the thing. It's using the specific mod or an ability with a grenade. Being able to put a grenade in his mouth and watch him explode like a piñata.
Then you just jump up and do your finisher. It feels really fucking good. I actually love the Cacodemons in this game.
It's pretty sweet the first time you get to do it.
After this level, the Doomslayer goes into this huge temple looking thing. It's like very gothic and scary looking. And this is where we meet our antagonists.
We meet our Hell Priest here, and we kind of learn a little bit more about the Hell Priest.
At the beginning of this level, we killed one of the Hell Priests. Now there is only 2 left, and there's also this person called the Kahn Maykr, who is our main antagonist. The next level is Exultia, and I gotta tell you, I love the way this level looks.
It's unlike anything in 2016, and it was unexpected to see a castle that isn't completely in ruins, and it was even weird to see a castle in Doom. You get a castle that's overgrown with beautiful vines, and the game comes out and it really shows you that it's a modern era game. It's even probably a next gen game. I would say it's going to release next gen.
Yeah, it's gonna be re-released. I just love the way this part looks. There's flora everywhere. It looks very Tolkien-esque in my opinion. Very Norse god-like stuff. I really love this. We have this weird like wolf thing that you see every now and then. It's like this green wolf.
Yeah, some kind of spectral wolf. It reminded me of, Mortal Kombat. What's that, Nighthawk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. I thought that thing was super cool though.
Yeah, it was.
It added a lot to this environment.
It makes the whole place feel very metaphysical. Like you're not on Earth, of course, but you're somewhere else, like heaven almost.
Yeah, this is the heaven I want to go to, dude.
Just badass.
It's full of demons, bro.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. That's hell actually then. Yeah, now that I think about it.
Thanks for the information.
Yeah, good luck in heaven.
This is where the game kind of takes a more platforming-esque turn. Something, once again, that I didn't expect at all in Doom.
They give you something to swing on. It's pretty consistent throughout the whole game. It's a yellow bar. Looks like something a gymnast would use, and it does look out of place sometimes. But what it adds to the environment is verticality, and that is something that is pretty cool in a game like Doom. Getting this verticality means that they're able to reuse aspects of this level where in Doom 2016, things were a little flat. There wasn't a lot of climbing you're doing, but part of this game and its movement is moving up, and you're doing it rapidly, so it doesn't feel like you're climbing up a ladder like in a Source game or something like Half-Life. This really feels like you're just boosting yourself up there like some badass Doom Marine.
It feels really good and fluid. There's a particular part in this level where there's like a pillar and there's a bunch of those poles hanging out, and you're able to just swing all the way up the pillar. It's super fucking cool. That also adds to the combat where you're shooting at these guys while you're in the air.
Like Prince of Persia in the first person.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, actually. We also meet this godlike character. He's this big Norse-looking god, kind of like Thor, and he says some shit about destiny or something and how we're treading on like ground, like we need to let the humans die for the Kahn Maykr.
You can tell something's not right. This very beautiful place has some weird corruption. He kind of wants bad things to happen.
Or something. Like we said, we don't know a whole lot about the Doom lore. I have read a little bit about this online, and supposedly this game brings all of the games together.
Wow.
That's really cool, if true. I'm actually pretty sure it is, but I just don't know enough, unfortunately. Right after that, we get the dash move.
The dash was cool. It sort of works like a Dark Souls mechanic. It's like your dodge rolls. This kind of gets you out of the way of things, and they make this pretty apparent after you learn your dash move. You come up against the Hell Knight, and he has a forward rush, and the only way to really get away from that is dashing out of the way, and it becomes apparent that this is your invincibility frame.
Did you like that addition?
I liked it because it worked in many ways. Just like in Dark Souls, it's also a movement technique, so it's not just a way to defend yourself in combat, it's a way to navigate too.
The Doomslayer is probably the most agile first-person shooter character out there.
The cool thing too is it's a part of the engine of the game. It's not like bunny hopping in Counter-Strike or some of the crazy shit you see people do in Team Fortress. This is part of the engine. It feels very Quake.
And it all works within the combat too, and it makes gunplay feel very visceral.
Very exciting. Even those moments where you're not fighting anything and you're just running from shit. It's so cool that they're keeping up with you while you're doing crazy shit like dashing through the air.
It's just fun jumping around in this game. About halfway through this level, we go through this portal that sends us to like this hell-like realm too. And this is where we get our plasma rifle. I really love the plasma rifle. This is probably my favorite gun in the entire game, personally. It does a lot. It has kind of an automatic type shooting pattern, and it also has this really cool ability that's called the microwave beam, where you're able to use it against those Hell Knights, and they'll just sit there and take it, and if you can keep them there for a certain amount of time, they'll explode. And I really like it. It's super cool.
This gun is great.
We also get the Revenants. They return in this game, but in a very different way.
Yeah, the Revenants do offer a little more variety in terms of like what we're seeing with other enemy types in this game with their weak points being those two rockets on their shoulders. This wasn't the case in 2016, but these rockets, now you can shoot at them and pretty much ground these Revenants and make them useless.
Not only do they have that weak point, but they also force you to use your dash, because that's the only only way to get away from their homing rockets. And I think that's a lot of fun. I think they're super cool.
They make old enemies better.
This second part of the level is super cool too. There are these huge mech-like set pieces, and they're stabbing through gigantic petrified demons, and the aesthetic is awesome.
They're upscaling just about everything from 2016. Even the demons are like the size of planets, and they're just marching across Earth. In the case of Exultia, you know, these things are marching across this beautiful landscape. Everything's huge.
I really liked this level, but there are a couple cons in my opinion. Did you have any?
I had one with a sort of an ambient enemy that they introduced. There's a point where you're in this purple ooze, and these tentacles shoot out of the ground. First of all, they don't really fit in where I'm at. It looks like Purple Flurp is on the ground from Jimmy Neutron, and these tentacles feel like something from a Lovecraft thing, which is not bad for Doom, but they're also a boring-ass enemy type. They don't do anything.
Yeah, the only way to get away from these guys is to do your dash, because they just pop out and stab you. But combine that with the fucking Purple Flurp, and I hate it, because you can't dash with this.
And you're already slow.
And you can't jump either, which completely defeats what I believe Doom is.
It feels like they just made a short section longer just for the sake of maybe playtime. That's the only thing I can come up with, because it doesn't make sense.
I really don't know either, because it would be cool if there were islands that you were supposed to jump to, but in this section, you're just forced to trudge through this bullshit.
It's a hallway.
And it's not fun.
No, and it's not the last time you'll see it.
Nope, it is not. But after that, we meet this character called the Betrayer, and he's betrayed the Kahn Maykr in the past, and he doesn't look very good because of it. Now, once again, this is one of those things that I don't know anything about, but it was a cool cinematic. Hi everybody, Future Red here. So I learned a little bit more about the Betrayer, and it's actually really interesting. I didn't know anything about it, but it looks like the Betrayer actually betrayed the humans in a fight against Hell. And the way that the Kahn Maykr decided to repay him for what he did was to take his son and make him into the icon of sin. Now, obviously the Betrayer is a little bit upset by this, so, you know, now he's going to help out Doom Guy so that he can kill the Kahn Maykr. Pretty awesome stuff. I wish I knew that before I had recorded this video.
For being an in-game cinematic, it looks as good as the game. I wish it was maybe higher produced, better produced. If they're going to give us cinematics, I'd like something kind of a movie.
Really?
I think so. I like that kind of stuff. I think they would do that if the lore was better. I don't know.
I thought it was passable.
It is passable. It's just something I'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish I knew what was going on, personally.
Yeah, that's more important.
Next up, we head to the third level, which is the cultist base. We're trying to find the next Hell Priest so that we can kill him and stop all this mayhem happening on Earth. What did you think of this level, Orange?
I liked it when we start out. I really liked the feelings here. What we're seeing is really pretty. It's still carrying forward what we're seeing from Exultia. And of course, you know, the Hell Priests, this does feel like a church.
I must survive this. Protect me in my time of need, and you will secure your place in the new world.
A church dedicated to hell. This is really the whole environment. I like being here.
It's kind of like this really big, authoritarian, futuristic castle. On the surface, I think that this is a really cool idea. Personally, I thought the art style in this was a little bit boring.
I think that's fair to say. At this point, the scale of things doesn't hit you as hard as it did in the beginning of the game, and it's hard to notice a lot of what's going on. You're very used to it at this point, which is sad to say for the third level, actually.
It's just this very pulpy sci-fi type B-movie-esque thing that I just can't really get into, and I don't really know why. There is a lot that happens in this level, though.
Yeah, we get to a point now where we get the rocket launcher. We're fighting the Mancubus from 2016. These are normal mobs. The Mancubus comes a little bit later in 2016. Not too late, but this is at the beginning of the game. And that's a good sign for enemy types. If you're getting enemies from the end of the game on the previous game, you're getting them early. I think I was right to expect more, and they definitely deliver on that later, but this level does give us some of the old enemy types that we've seen before.
They give us the older enemy types right up front, but they also give us a ton more new ones. There's this snake-like woman that throws things at you. She's a new enemy.
Yeah, that'd be our Whiplash character.
Yeah, her name is Whiplash. I thought she was a little bit annoying, personally. I don't know what you think.
She was hard to deal with, but we also get the ice bomb somewhere around here. Maybe the last level. And that's just another one of your tools that you're getting to use to slow things down or just change the way these mobs interact with the environment. This one stops her dead in her tracks. I found her to be an easy target once I used that.
I think for me, the ice bomb had a little bit too long of a recovery. So what I would do is after you get the missile launcher, I just would shoot the missile launcher and just use the blast radius to hit her, and it made it a little bit easier.
Oh, that's really smart.
Another thing that I really enjoyed about this level was that they have these shields that they introduce. And what you do here is you use the plasma rifle and you shoot at those shields and it overcharges it and blows it up. You can kill like 10 mobs with this shit.
Yeah, and the enemy type that builds those shields, he's a funny guy too. He's nothing special. He's not too tough. He just annoys you. But he was a funny character, the way he dies and spins around and shit. It was good.
Yeah, he's really goofy. Some of the kills with him, like the glory kills, are really funny looking. But I also like the normal mobs where you're shooting at it and you can just blow them up. It's very satisfying in my opinion.
There's another moment in the end of this level where we get to control a revenant. This one was pretty popular on social media. You get to control the revenant and he has your gun, but controlling him was really cool because you didn't get to do this in the last game in the campaign. That was a multiplayer thing. Now we're getting to do it here. I'm just gonna say I wish there was more of this. Sadly, he's the only demon we control.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually was totally fine never playing another demon again.
No, that's okay though.
Because I liked being the Doomslayer a lot, and playing as the Revenant was sort of a step down for me.
You think so? I felt that. It was actually kind of weird to play as the Revenant because he's so strong. He does destroy these demons like that. But that's a testament to how strong the Doom Marine is that can survive the Revenant.
Did you leave the Revenant alone or did you kill it?
Dude, he's a demon. I fucking shot him in the
What
face.
the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Oh my god, we're gonna get fucking canceled.
No.
Orange just kills things.
I just killed demons.
This is what video games do to you kids.
Yeah, but, well, I guess he's going to give us the gun either way, but in my opinion, he deserves to die.
Yeah, I could see that. Another cool thing that we get in the cultist base that I really enjoyed was these new kind of environmental enemies. What are they called? Ambient?
Yeah, I call him ambience.
Ambient enemy. It's called a cue ball. And I love this thing because you shoot it and it goes flying and it can kill like a mancubus with one hit.
There's not enough of them throughout the game, though.
No, I wish there were more. It was
Yeah.
super fun. I really like this section where you're put into this pit and there's like spikes all over it. There's just a bunch of cue balls. You're like in this big pool of blood and you're just shooting these cue balls at different enemies. For example, one is the mancubus, the other one is the whiplash. And I just love fucking killing these with the whiplash because fuck the whiplash. I hate the whiplash. But other than the visuals in this one and the art style, I think that this is a pretty solid level.
I didn't have the most fun in this level. This is a quick problem I'm going to bring up. A lot of these levels bleed together, similar styles so much that I get pretty sick of it. This isn't a bad thing. I'm not hating the game for it. I just got a little sick of the environments, but we're going into the Doom Hunter base. I liked this one a lot more.
Really?
Yeah, the Doom Hunter base, we're introduced to this sort of factory line. This is just an idea I like, having worked in environments like this, where we're running around in this space factory, and they're forming the enemy type we're going to fight at the end. And this guy, Daig Renak is his name. He's showing us his masterpiece weapon that's going to kill the Doom Marine and be the final step. And it was cool to just go from stage to stage to stage and see the different parts of this guy being manufactured.
I thought that that was really cool. There are certain things in this level that I did sort of like. For example, we get introduced to the Pinky, which is a lot of fun. I like killing the Pinky. You can hit him with your blood punch, which was actually introduced in like the second level Exultia. But you can take him out with one hit in the blood punch, or you can use your freeze, or you can somehow get behind him and shoot him with your rocket launcher. I just think all in all, he's a pretty fun enemy. But other than that, and other than the narrative that's unfolding before us, I don't think that this is my favorite. This might be one of my least favorite parts of the game. We also get to fight the Doom Hunter in this part, which I do think is a pretty cool boss.
He was a cool boss, but for the build-up we had, this is a problem. I love the environment. This is probably one of my favorite levels just for what I'd mentioned, but underwhelming boss.
I think he looks cool. He definitely goes down really easily, though.
And then they throw 3 more at you, and it's pretty manageable. It just kind of felt like I thought we were doing this the whole time just to build 1, but you have like 6.
So he was planning on the Doom Slayer killing the first one.
Yeah, it just didn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. Whatever.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the Doom Marine. He's not.
I was really surprised when they put you in that pit with like 2 or 3, but it was a lot of fun. I like that part. There are 1 or 2 too many fights in this one after that. I got fatigued with this level. I got fatigued seeing snow and this weird ultra futuristic sci-fi shit. I just was done with it.
Return for my
Ultra future goth.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, but fitting for Doom.
Yeah. After this, we have to head to what is called the Super Gore Nest, which I learned in the lore pages is the most infested place on Earth. And it's just this big old nest of guts and grime, and it's just gross looking. And you know what? I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like Geiger art, but with color, with grossness, with gore. It's a satisfying level. This environment feels like an enemy, and it is. A lot of it does hurt you. You get a rad suit in this level that protects you from things, but this level is different because it is like an enemy the whole way through.
Yeah, you have to go and get to the heart of this nest. And when I say that, I mean the literal heart of it and kill it. I love this level because it kind of harkens back to older Doom games, in my opinion. You have to go and get different key cards. You have to go through kind of a maze-like area in order to get through this level, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
It is fun to do these puzzles again. I feel that there maybe wasn't enough of them, and I feel like these puzzles aren't as good as they were in 2016, but they are still fun.
Another thing that is introduced in this section is the totems, and I thought the totems were a really cool idea. They're like hidden throughout the level, and what they do is they power up the demons that are around you, and you have to go and find the totem and kill it or destroy it so that you can fight these demons. And it really creates this frantic environment when you're first dropped into a fight.
It's cool dealing with these totems because they're kind of small. You gotta look for them, and having something that buffs the enemy and changes them a little bit, that's pretty cool.
Another thing I noticed in this level is that we're getting some older enemies from the first couple levels, except more higher powered version of them. For example, the Hell Knight, we get something called the Dread Knight, which is like this cybernetically enhanced Hell Knight, has like swords on its side. A lot of fun. Once again though, you know that microwave beam I was talking about with the plasma? You can take those out with it.
They do give you some easy solutions for these bosses. That microwave beam is probably your most useful tool. For like one guy though, you know.
There's a heavy gamble because you can't move around with it as much, but if you can pull it off, it's super fun, really satisfying.
Time saver.
This is one of my favorite levels because I think it illustrates the imaginative nature of Doom Eternal.
We had this kind of goriness a little bit in the last game, 2016, but they do take it a step further, and it's fun to see a level of living flesh. I don't see this a lot, and if it can make my skin crawl, it can make me happy.
After this, we have to head to the Ark Complex. Now, the Ark Complex is the base of Samuel Hayden, who is running the rebellion against the demons.
Yeah.
And we have to go and find him and get him back, pretty much, so that he can help us, save the planet. It's pretty important shit.
It was cool to see Samuel Hayden back in the game. I mean, I really, really liked the voice actor that did Samuel Hayden.
Final priest is hiding in Sentinel Prime.
I don't know the name, but the voice was fucking great.
With you saying that too, I just have to mention, a lot of the voice actors in this, you can tell are just having a blast portraying these over-the-top characters. Another one that comes up in my memory is back in the cultist base. We have that Hell Priest. He's just having such a fun time being this evil dude. And I really like the voice acting in this game.
They give the antagonist a lot of dialogue, which is great.
While this isn't my favorite level, it does have some pretty good sections. Surprisingly, there's a section that I liked where they use the purple flurp or whatever, that goo, in a really good way, I thought. There's a part where you're being chased around by some Mancubus and some revenants, and you're having to jump over this purple goo and go in a circular pattern in order to kill them, and I thought that was a lot of fun.
I do like the use of that particular ambient enemy in this level. They did a good job here with that.
In any other area of the game, though, I don't like it.
It sucks.
There's also this new enemy. He's very similar to the Mancubus, and it's a cyber Mancubus. I actually think this guy's really fun.
He's pretty sweet, knocking off those armor pieces and whittling him down to what looks like a slug after you've taking his armor off. It's pretty fun to deal with those guys.
I love hitting him with the meat hook that you have on your super shotgun and just like zipping towards him and using your blood punch to just punch off all his armor.
That's pretty cool.
It's so much fun and very rewarding. And then you just shoot him with one shot with your super shotgun. He's down. So much fun.
Easy.
Another part that I really loved was throughout this level, you're kind of going through a city. It's similar to the first level, but not so much hellish. It's very like sci-fi kind of aliens taking over. I liked the way that this looked. There was one part in particular that was a lot of fun in my opinion, where the arena took place in a hotel lobby and you had to run around this hotel lobby and you were running away from Whiplash and Cyber Mancubus. It was a very good fight, very intense.
Really imaginative using the inside of these buildings. It really does feel like they went ahead and textured the whole skyscraper and maybe made a level for every floor just because of how detailed these levels are.
After you get Samuel Hayden, you're about to take him to the Doom Fortress, and you're stopped by probably the most infamous enemy in this game, called the Marauder. What do you think of this guy?
He gave me a really hard time.
Really?
And I know he was a good boss because he annoyed me. And that's a pretty good thing. I was not annoyed with his mechanics. I was annoyed with my inability to master his mechanics. He's tough.
It's like doing surgery, fighting a Marauder, and it takes a while to get used to. I mean, you have to be in that sweet spot, or else he's gonna hurt you. If you're too close, he's gonna hit you with his axe. If you're too far, he's gonna shoot you with his shotgun. And he might even summon this fucking wolf that will attack you. I don't like the wolf that much,
Yeah, he was hard enough without it.
but the Marauder is one of the best things in Doom Eternal, in my opinion.
Yeah, a very well crafted boss.
All you journalists that bitched about this guy can get fucked. He is one of my favorite things, and I love him so much.
He's very unforgiving. If there were an easy mode for this boss, the Marauder wouldn't be as famous as he is today.
I just loved using my super shotgun and timing it just perfect so that when I see that green, I shoot. It feels so good, and it's just amazing. And then eventually when you do beat him and you're able to do that glory kill, it's sublime.
Mwah.
Next up, we learned that we have to get to the core of Mars in order to get to a portal to get to Sentinel Prime. I know that was a big sentence, I'm sorry. But the mission starts on a base on the moon, and there's this huge BFG 10,000. It's just really cool, and this is when I knew that Doom Eternal was just going into Ren and Stimpy, cartoon, fucking comic book territory, and I was down for it.
I loved this. It's really funny seeing the name of this new BFG, the big fucking gun, 10,000. I like that it's a fucking 10,000. We get to do some pretty cool shit with that.
Before that, we have to fight some new enemies, or at least one new enemy. It's called the Pain Elemental. This guy looks a lot like our Cacodemons, except he's really big and he takes a lot of hits. My favorite way to kill this guy was 4 hits with your Ballista.
The Ballista was very useful for this guy. You can get a mod for the Ballista that lets you mount up, I'm guessing. You can't move, but the gun just winds up this fucking massive attack. You can one-shot this dude with it.
While we're on the subject, what did you think of the Ballista?
I liked it. It's very situational for me, a lot like in the last game, but it had its uses, and I found using it on the run was a lot more effective than winding up this big charge, but, you know, it was fun.
I agree, like with bigger enemies, the Ballista is very useful. This is probably my least favorite weapon though, for some reason.
It's just a long charge time with a few shots. I kind of default to another more powerful gun.
Alongside this heavy hitter, we also get to see the Doom Hunter again, which this is kind of when the Doom Hunter starts to become just a normal enemy, which is kind of really cool that you've gotten so good at this game that you can just take out a previous boss so easily.
It feels nice. It's not like they made the boss weaker. I mean, maybe they did, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like my skills are actually just better.
Now after this, we finally get to the BFG 10,000.
Yeah, the BFG 10,000 is just off the rails.
Warning. Mars surface targeted. Safety
Would you
mechanism
like me to
activated.
disable the safety protocols? The pod is set
I loved every part of that.
We also take the BFG 9000 out of it, and we can use that to our leisure now.
Huge criticism, though, on the BFG 10,000.
Whoa. Yeah.
Why couldn't we have pressed the button? We didn't get to press the button.
You know, that is a good criticism. Right after we get out of the BFG, we have to like jump to Mars while jumping from pieces of this base and this planet in order to get to Mars. And that part is a lot of fun. I thought visually that was awesome. And they start throwing some really hard enemies at you so that this BFG is actually very useful. Some of these harder enemies are just upgrades of the Hell Knights, and they're called the Fireborn Barons. They're really, really difficult, and I'm thankful that we had the BFG in this part. Right after this, we go into the middle of Mars. We have this really awesome fight near the gates of Sentinel Prime. Eventually, we get through there, and we're greeted with this really, really beautiful scenery of something that looks right out of Star Wars.
Yeah, it looks kind of like the Cloud City of Bespin, dark.
And there's like this big Colosseum out in the distance. And this is where we learn a lot of lore about the Doomslayer's past.
He actually speaks here, too. You get to hear the Doom Marine utter some words.
We find out he was a human that was taken by these Sentinels and brought to the Colosseum to be a gladiator. And he kind of goes like crazy for a second and starts, I don't know. In my opinion, this part was a little bit cringy.
Yeah.
Sorry if that offends anybody. The rest of the game is pretty good at walking that fine line of cringe and awesome, but this part was just, his voice acting was a little bit over the top for me. And then after that, we fight the Gladiator.
He's a cool enemy type. I feel like he sort of gave us a mini game in the fight. He presents himself with this like mace or a morning star or something on a chain, and then he has this gigantic shield with a skull on it and tons of spikes. And he uses both of these weapons as sort of as a mini game in the fight. It's something that you get to sort of dodge and work around.
He's similar to the Marauder in that you have to shoot him when he flashes green. Now, the thing is, I like the Marauder, and I think he's a lot of fun. The Gladiator is not fun. I don't like fighting the Gladiator.
It's this jump rope game he gives us. He swings his chain around. You gotta jump over it. But doing this in the first person is difficult. I just don't have the same sort of depth, especially in a game like Doom where my field of view is gonna be over 100. Because of what the game is, it just doesn't feel right that I have to jump something that is already kind of hard to see. And maybe I'm complaining here, but it's just, that's the way I feel.
I mean, in my opinion, the jump rope part was okay for me. I kind of liked it. It reminded me a little bit of Doom 2016. There's a boss that does something similar in that. My only problem was sometimes it was hard to know when you were supposed to shoot him or not. The first phase when he has his shield is a little bit easier because he has that shield and you know, okay, flashes green, he moves his shield, I can shoot him. Second part when he has the cat of nine tails whip thing, I don't know totally. There were times when I felt like I should have been able to shoot him and I couldn't. It was very frustrating in some points.
The Gladiator, he kind of annoyed me. It was dealing with what I'd mentioned, the weird field of view that I had, that I'm always going to have in a game like Doom, and not to mention these sort of quick response times. I just could not master him, and it seemed like the game wasn't explaining a lot to me, which, you know, that's fine, but really killed my vibe here, and oh man, it was just tough for me. I didn't like him that much. I had a harder time with him than the Marauder, and, you know, I really wish anyone watching this could just see me at the Marauder and then imagine that times 2 at the Gladiator. Is not pretty.
You know what? I think even the devs knew the Gladiator was a little bit annoying because after this encounter, you head back to the Doom Fortress and there's this weird random invasion of your fortress where they just let you kill like a ton of easy people.
They sort of let you just like release that tension. Like, I mean, I was pissed at this point, so I whipped out the BFG and I was like, fuck these demons! I killed them all.
Since we killed all 3 Hell Priests, the Kahn Maykr is now threatening to release the Icon of Sin.
Now I will resurrect the Icon of Sin. He will devour Earth and leave your whole world in ruins.
And the only way to kill that is with the Slayer's Crucible. So we head to Terras Nabad, and I thought that this level was awesome. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. It starts off a little sloppy though. It introduces one of my least favorite enemies in the game, which is the Archvile. He has this big shield that you have to hit with a blood punch, or you need to get behind him and shoot him.
The blood punch is really the best way to deal with him.
Oh yeah, the blood punch is actually a really cool mechanic too that we haven't talked too much about. There's There's a lot of things that it can take out with like one hit, and I think it's a lot of fun.
It's a really good get out of jail card.
But the Arc Vial, he's got that shield. He also summons these overpowered demons. It's almost like a totem. And then on top of that too, the first time you are introduced to him, they don't warn you about it at all, and they actually hide him throughout the level like a totem. That was not my favorite thing. I thought that was a really dumb decision on their part.
Why hide the enemy? Why not put a totem down? It was pretty annoying.
I think if this was our second time seeing him, then that would have been fine for me. But because it was our first time being introduced to the enemy, I thought hiding him was a little cheap. We also fight some marauders in this level, which I thought was a lot of fun. And there are a lot of like puzzly type parts in this too, where you have to shoot these green things in order to make water go up and down throughout these like sewer-like environments.
These puzzles were neat. They weren't so much the platforming puzzles that we're used to. These were fun just getting to interact with the environment. And it was pretty obvious where these green things were, and it was nice being able to react to that. That was something I liked in other first-person shooters like Battlefield that had the like levolution, you know, whatever they called it. That was something fun. I like changing the environment where I'm at.
It just reminded me a lot of like Zelda or something.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're going through this big dungeon. And by the way, this level looks really pretty too. And you're just doing these puzzles mixed with combat. This was like the perfect pace for me with Doom Eternal. Combat, puzzle, platforming, combat, puzzle, platforming. I thought that it mixed it up perfectly, and I actually kind of wish that the whole game was this well balanced.
That's a good thing to ask for. I think it's almost kind of an impossible thing with a game like this one. Huge game. You could probably say that this part of the game is a climax.
Yeah, it's really close to it. The final section of this game, though, is just the cherry on top of this sundae. I fucking loved it. You finally get the Slayer Crucible, which is this sword, and you get dropped into a pit with a lot of different enemies. I love it so much because you know how hard these enemies are, and you're able to just kill them with one hit. You slice them in half, and you get to see how powerful this sword really is.
It's a lightsaber with less soy, with runes inscribed on it that probably only say the word hate over and over again. This is a fun thing to use.
It is really cool. And with this section too, you just get waves and waves of enemies with this never-ending supply of, I guess, ammo for this crucible. And it's just a lot of fun. I loved it. The next level is Necroval. I actually really love Necroval, mainly because of the aesthetic to it. This looks like hell.
Yeah, like real like Dante's Inferno type stuff.
We've got this huge demon that's bleeding lava out of his eyes at the very beginning. We see something that looks like the Tower of Babel out in the distance, and as you get closer to it, you get to see all of these wayward souls that are stuck in cages and groaning. A lot of gnashing and wailing.
And when you're inside this, I mean, the outside of these environments is very hot. It is like hell, fire, damnation. But inside, it's very cold. The souls are like, it feels freezing almost.
There's a lot of blue and red, very different, vivid colors. It reminds me a lot, actually, of these old horror comics that were in the 60s and 70s, I believe. There was a lot of very vivid colors in those, and it looks like that. It also reminds me of something like an Iron Maiden cover.
This is interesting to get towards the end of the game now, is these colors. It's weird that they're changing it up, but it's great that they are, because you're kind of going to need it. This is a long game, so the fact that they're changing things up here is important.
Something that I thought was really strange, like you brought up, was that you're finally getting these kind of visuals. When I first started playing Doom Eternal, I did not understand why they changed the art style so much. These demons look a lot more cartoony than they did in 2016, and I didn't quite understand that until you get to this level when everything just makes sense. Like, everything looks great in this level. All of the demons look right at home. There's no weird juxtaposition like they do in more realistic settings.
I think they're easing us down. I think maybe it's a bit of a struggle, but they've been easing us into the style the whole time. I don't think that's a bad thing, that now we're just getting used to it, or now that it's making sense to us. I think that's probably intentional. It's helping with the story a lot too.
There are some really hard parts in this. We have been introduced to the Cyber Demon before, but he starts to be a bigger enemy in this. We get to see him more often. I love fighting this guy mainly because I found out that if you use the plasma rifle's microwave beam on him and you just sit there and you're able to pull it off, you can just sit there and charge him up all the way with these microwave beams and shoot him once and he'll go down. That's just a little tip for everybody out there. It's really fucking cool if you can do it.
Yeah, seeing that, it's like you entered a cheat code, but it's legit. That's the strategy.
Right after a fight with the cyber demon, you go down into this circular cage where all of these people are like screaming and trying to get out of their cages, and there's bodies and bits of flesh falling from the sky. Really cool, fucked up shit that is awesome. And you ride in this cage to this other arena where it has you fighting this giant brain.
This arena was cool, albeit a little annoying for me. I just wasn't used to the back and forth that I was doing in this arena, where I'm trying to avoid the lava on the ground. And I'm okay with the lava. I actually prefer this to the purple flurp on the floor. But there's these sinking platforms. They kind of go into the lava, they come back up, and you're hugging the walls a lot. It wasn't bad, but this brain wasn't even that intimidating.
Yeah, the brain was definitely not intimidating. I would say the majority of the conflict comes from these never-ending waves of pain elementals, which you just have to keep using your ballista on and recharging your ballista by killing smaller mobs. I would have to agree with you that it's a little bit annoying, but the visual almost makes it worth it, in my opinion, just because it looks really cool.
I like the old depictions of hell, you know, in literature and artwork, and this one has that. It doesn't feel like an alien hell anymore. It feels like a real hell, and that's kind of where I want to be in Doom.
It looks like a Dio cover.
Yeah.
Another thing that's in this level that I kind of wanted to bring up, this was in other levels too, but I thought that it was better in this one, was that there are these environmental weapons that you can use where you shoot a button or something and like a torture thing, I don't know what to call it.
It's like a meat pulverizer or something. Just comes down really quick. Just a big whoop, boom. It's like a spiky stamp, and there's a puddle of blood where that stamp is too. You know what it's for.
You can use it to lure in guys and just kill them with one hit, and I actually thought that was really fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
The next part is Necroval Part 2, because this is one of those levels that bleeds into the other ones, similar to, I would say, the cultist base. Necroval Part 2 is a lot of the same as Part 1. We do get a little bit of a different aesthetic. This one's more Lovecraftian gothic type stuff.
We're venturing into some lore territory that I think is worthwhile. I'm not saying that the lore like in the game isn't worthwhile. I'm just saying like this is a very interesting part because it does play into some of Urgent Energy in Doom 2016, where in this level we get to see something really sweet. Souls are powering hell and you're watching the extraction happen. I like that part a lot.
I think Samuel Hayden comes in and says, what powers Argent Energy is the suffering of humans. Finally, a religion that makes sense.
It has real benefits.
Yes, thank you. I'm so happy that when I stub my fucking toe, I'm helping the demons of hell like turn on a light bulb.
Yeah, but you're helping the greater good of humanity.
The greater good of humanity. There are 3 very hard fights in this section. I remember one particular, I think has a Doom Hunter, an Arcvile, and a Marauder all at once. Very hard, very difficult, and it's just ramping up the difficulty, getting you ready for the last levels.
As we're gearing up for this last level, there is this Titan. He's sitting in the center of this small U-shaped arena, and he's holding these 2 chains, and they're holding up this massive chamber of souls. When we destroy these chains, these souls sort of fall into this chasm, and it creates this elevator of escaping souls. That's where the Doomarine, he ascends into the next level, which is a monumental level. It's actually beautiful too. He rides the elevator of souls up into what is known as Urdak.
Urdak is where the Sentinels live. That's what the race is of the Kahn Maykr. They're like this alien, weird, angelic race that I actually think is really cool looking. It reminds me a lot of Bayonetta, surprisingly, because they have these angels that when you break off their exterior skin, it's really creepy looking on the inside. And that's kind of what we get in this as well.
I was even reminded of in Halo 4, they have these cartographers or this sort of tech race of people there. They have ascended so far past worldly problems. They're basically divinity. That's sort of what we're seeing in this level.
The art style is very sci-fi pulp mixed with like Geiger body horror. There are points when it looks like you're in a 50s comic book, but then there are other points where things look very organic and fleshy. It's very interesting, and I've never actually seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's a nice mix of styles.
One of the main enemy types in this level is the Maker drone. The big difference between these guys and other enemies is instead of doing your finishing moves on them, is you have to shoot off their head, and that's what makes them pop open. In my opinion, I don't really understand these enemies. I don't know why they were added.
Well, they don't make a whole lot of sense, but there's a final fight here that they become part of that mechanic. It almost feels like they were created for this, and I do like them in this situation. However, I would have preferred maybe some more imps or something. This does force you to change up your game style a little bit. Maybe you got to start focusing on the precision bolt rifle and actually, landing your headshots, because it's essential you get those. Unless you're God and you don't need health, but I do.
There are some fun encounters in this level. There are like 3 really, really big fights that last up to maybe 30 minutes just in order to open this gate so that we can finally get to the Kahn Maykr, where they are trying to summon the icon of sin. During their ceremony, the Doomslayer interrupts it and stabs the heart of the icon of sin with his dagger. And what this ends up doing is, instead of killing it, making it go crazy and rampaging through Earth. And this is when you have to finally fight the Kahn Maykr.
This was a good build-up. The Kahn Maykr was not what I was expecting. I didn't expect an angelic being, but I love the presentation. I love that the Doom Marine is still an asshole and he interrupts us. They were getting really close to like winning the game and the Doom Marine shit on it, and I loved it. That was fun.
It was really cool. This final fight with the Kahn Maykr is really hard.
Yeah, it took a few tries.
Yeah, you have to like use your meat hook to get up to her and then do a blood punch in order to chip away at her health. And before that, you have to like get her shield down. The only difference with this shield is that you don't have to use the plasma rifle. You can use anything.
I like this fight. There's just a few problems I have with like juggling mechanics a lot. The problem is not the mechanics themselves that aren't fun, it's how long I'm doing them. I mean, I should be used to it just given the kinds of games I like to play, but I was just, I don't know, I wasn't like feeling it the whole fight, although it was an entertaining fight and it was fun to figure out.
How did you feel about the AoE?
The AoE, I didn't like that much.
Really?
Because it's kind of spreading on the ground. You can't stand there. And the AI for these Maker drones, they just want to wander that way. Even if you don't want them to, they'll go hide there. I actually found myself having to go and find the Maker drones, which was really annoying for an enemy that's supposed to be killing me. They're hiding from me in these AoE parts that I can't stand in, but they can. That was frustrating.
The first couple of rounds with her, she doesn't do those AoE attacks, which if you're unfamiliar, it's where the enemy forces you not to step on a certain part of the map. There's like a big red part that has electricity coming out of the floor, and you can't touch that or else you're gonna get hurt. I think the reason why they do that is because on the first couple phases, you can pull out your chain gun and use one of your mods. You can chip away at her health really easily. They don't want you to be able to just sit there. The best way and most easy way that I found at beating her was using your rocket launcher again, so that you can just keep shooting her with that lock on. If you keep upgrading it, you can get up to 3 missiles to shoot out at once. And if you do that, I think it only takes like 5 hits from using that, and then you can go up to her and punch her. It'll do it really quickly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Personally, I really liked the challenge in this because it made me think outside of the box a lot. I had to do a ton of experimenting before I could actually beat her. The next level takes place on Earth. We have to stop the icon of sin. This thing is running rampant through the cities of our beautiful planet, and Doomslayer is the only one that can stop it. This level has a lot of really long, very challenging fights. You are going to be fighting every single enemy that you have encountered to this point. You are going to be using every single weapon to this point. You'll probably pull out the BFG multiple times during this. And I gotta say, unlike other Doom games, you do not want to be stingy with that BFG ammo.
The setting of this environment is like the tops of buildings. So we're jumping platform to platform, or really rather rooftop to rooftop to rooftop, ascending even higher and higher. And you will find a lot of BFG ammo, so don't hang on to it. you're gonna have plenty of it. As you get further and further and further, now we're up so high in this last level here called the Final Sin. Of course, we are going to encounter the Icon of Sin. He does make himself present to us in a small cinematic. He approaches and he's fucking huge. We are on top of a skyscraper. This is evident from the scenery in the background, and we see him at about chest level. So he's a massive being, and he does have a damage phase, 2 of them, but they're almost identical. Going into him though, you will be surrounded by plenty of mobs. This I liked a lot.
This very first phase is a little different. He has this armor on him that you have to shoot off, and eventually you're going to expose his skin, and you have to just keep shooting and blowing up each part. He has 2 cycles. This is his first one. Personally, this first cycle I have a little bit of criticism of, because the level is kind of laid out in a vertical manner, and it was very hard for me to get that cycle going for how I'm gonna run, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I also didn't like that he can like literally punch you off the stage. You have to get right behind some walls in order to stop him from doing that, but I don't know, it just wasn't that fun to me.
He does this thing where he moves around the stage too. This makes the first phase of the fight difficult. I think maybe needlessly difficult, because destroying the armor pieces requires heavy power, and you kind of need to hit it with something that's slow moving, such as a rocket launcher. And if you've whittled down all his armor pieces to maybe one on his lower left abdomen like I did, it was really hard to hit that last piece, because you have to get really close to him to attack him on this first phase with his armor pieces.
Even when he's like moving around to punch you or something, it's just small movements, but even that much is enough for you to miss with your rocket or even your BFG ammo, which really sucks when you miss with that thing.
And unlike the Crucible sword armor, your BFG ammo actually doesn't respawn in this level.
The second phase, however, which is the last phase and finally the end of the game, is probably my favorite out of the 2, and I actually really did enjoy this. In this one, he's kind of looming over you, and it's a little bit easier to hit him just because he's leaning over this big arena, and you're able to just run around it and kill mobs, get ammo, and just shoot at him at your leisure.
And it's rewarding to actually see yourself hit him, because chunks of his skin are falling off and they are like landing around you. It's cool. It's really cool.
Which we haven't even mentioned that yet. Almost every enemy has really awesome battle damage in this, which just is a great visual representation for how close they are to dying. Same with the Icon of Sin. I really liked that. I also liked just his overall design. He looks very demonic, very much like your Christian Baphomet kind of Satan looking thing.
Very fleshy too. I sort of felt like some Attack on Titan stuff here with exposed muscle, and you can see fibers of those things like in his skin. It was fun.
After defeating the Icon of Sin, the Doom Slayer's job is done. The narrator comes up and says, his battle is eternal. And you know what? I thought that this was a very good end to this game, even though there's DLC right now that we're not going to review for this review. But I thought that this was really good. And honestly, I just really like this game because in a lot of ways, it makes me feel like a kid again. There's just so much imagination in this game, and it's really cool to see in a AAA game.
I feel that the overall presentation for Doom Eternal is monolithic. It's definitely a staple. I think Doom has solidified itself with this game, and it's going to be something that generations will know for a while, not just because of its name, but because of the entertainment value that you're getting in both of these games. It's actually surprising that this is a $60 game, and I mean that because there is so much.
I can't believe the things that the creative team were able to do in this. Did you ever feel like you could see the corporate board meeting taking place in this? Because I personally couldn't. I never imagined the big businessman coming in and changing anything.
Yeah, no, a lot of it to me feels like a labor of love. It's something that I think a lot of people had a lot of ideas from all the things they love about whatever it is. And they're video game makers, and that's what it feels like, is that they love video games, they love fictional universe, and they want to make that into a real thing, and I think they did it so well.
Something that I also enjoyed in this game was the sense of fun that it had. It's so nice to play a game that is fully okay with you calling it a video game.
Some games try to walk this line of humor. It's like a kind of a Duke Nukem situation where it's okay to be funny, but there's a point where you're so funny you're not anymore. And Doom doesn't have that, and it gives you that 80s badassery feeling, like a RoboCop would. They can be funny sometimes while being cool.
Something that I was thinking about after I had finished this game was how gaming has changed quite a bit as an art form. We've went from Mario Brothers to big narrative-driven stories like The Last of Us 2. I think that in some instances, these games are really cool, and I like big narrative stories, but at the same time, I feel like video games have started to take themselves a little bit too seriously, and I really enjoy that Doom doesn't do that at all.
I don't doubt that the developers have an idea of going forward. I just hope that maybe they're willing to push as many buttons and pull as many strings as they were with 2016 to Eternal. I just have to say I'm excited for what's next.
I was surprised by how almost unapproachable this game is to normal players. I could see the average first-person shooter player just putting this down because the concept of shooting weak points or these new dodge mechanics are very different and they don't feel normal at all. The first few hours of this game were really grueling for me.
I think the way going forward would be keep pushing the envelope. That's just something I'd like to see out of a game like Doom, and I don't think they could do any wrong doing that. It's just, there's too much of the same.
Let me ask you this. I feel like there's a lot of critics in the gaming industry right now, and just in general, that would say something like Doom is a lesser art because it doesn't have any thematic themes of like social change or political systems or personal stories. What do you think of that?
I'd say those critics are totally missing the point. I think if you're looking at this through that lens of criticism, I think it's worth realizing some of the symbolic things that happen throughout these types of games, and specifically Doom Eternal. The Doom Marine is conquering the biggest enemies we've ever seen in a game like this, and all of them are hellacious things. I think to say that this isn't an art form because it isn't commenting on modern issues is missing the point, because you're just not looking at it the right way. I think that's what makes it an art form, is that you can look at it many different ways.
I think that it's really cool that, like I said before, the game developers are not afraid to be imaginative. The games industry is very similar to the movie industry, in my opinion. Movies started as like a short silent film where they were going to the moon, and like the moon had eyeballs, and it was very surreal and goofy. And I would say the same for video games. They had surreal goofiness like Mario Brothers. Then movies started to take themselves more seriously, and then in the 80s we had like a resurgence of just poppy, goofy stuff like Jaws or RoboCop, Steven Spielberg type things. I think that we're seeing the same historical things happening with the gaming industry right now. I think games wanted to take themselves seriously, which is fine, but at the same time we cannot forget the roots of gaming, which is complete escapism and being able to just enjoy something that is pure imagination. And I love that about Doom Eternal because it brings it back to the market.
Art is what you make of it, and I think they sell it so well here.
Would you recommend Doom Eternal?
Not to everybody.
Whoa.
Not to everybody. This is a hardcore game, straight up. I'm not going to go recommending Dark Souls to everybody, but, we bring it up a lot. This is a tough game. I won't say everybody, but I will say to those dedicated hardcore people out there that I think can handle it, yeah, they should take it up because it is an amazing game.
Personally, I would actually ask everybody to at least try it. And the reason for that is because there are tons of different difficulty settings. You can put this on easy if you want. You can learn how to play this and then work your way up. I think that it's just so unique and different, and it's worth trying out so that you can see these amazing landscapes. You can feel how awesome it is to pull off a glory kill. You can just feel how it is to be the Doom Slayer for however long you're playing it, and I think that you're gonna have a fun time.
That's fair.
I'm Red.
I'm Orange.
And we're signing out.
See ya.